Brittany Brown here. I am with Nancy. She is a graduate from our Beating Binge Eating Blueprint program. And for those of you who don't know, my name's Brittany. I founded actually Beating Binge Eating as well as leader of the Food Freedom Forever Mastermind and Movement. And Nancy is here. She has a really, really incredible story because she comes from the world of kind of like that diet binge on and off track cycle. She's done a lot of personal development, a lot of personal work, grown in so many areas, pushing herself, pursuing her dreams. And there was just this like piece with the food that she couldn't quite get to stick. And so she's a little powerhouse and full of energy. And I know this interview is going to leave you feeling inspired and also with some actionable takeaways to really break free from your struggle, because we're going to talk to her about her mindset and some of her takeaways that she learned on her journey. So Nancy, welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Thanks, Brittany. I'm super excited. This is like a dream.
Awesome. So I know we probably will have a lot to say because you and I could just talk forever to each other about these kind of things. So I just want to start with like getting a little glimpse of where you were before your journey in the Blueprint program and then where you are now and kind of like have that contrast of the difference.
Yeah. So oh my gosh, I struggled with binge eating for about 4 years. And it stemmed after my fitness competition, after my bikini competition that I did junior year of college. And after that, I just felt very out of control with food and I didn't know what was happening. I tried to figure it out on my own and stop binge eating on my own. I went to therapy and I saw a woman who specialized in eating disorders, and she referred me to a nutritionist and a psychiatrist, and they put me on antidepressants for a little while. And then I just kind of didn't feel right with any of those things. So I stopped doing all of that again. I just wasn't ready to get help, or again, I thought I could do it on my own. And I struggled again for like a year and a half. I found another binge eating coach in another program, and I did that for 12 weeks. Again, was a roller coaster. There was a few days where I'd stop binging. I never went longer than a week. And then I would start binging again. And I just like did her program, felt okay. And then again, was like, I'll do it on my own. Like the program just didn't work for me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was me or if it was what I was trying. I read all these books. I was like trying to immerse myself in figuring out like what was going on, because I just felt a little bit crazy with like the whole food thing. Like, why can't I stop binging? Like, why can't I control it? Like, what's wrong with me kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And I had watched Brittany and the Food Freedom Fighters for like over a year. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome. Like, that's amazing. But like, I'm good over here struggling. Like for some reason, that's what I thought. I was like, I'm going to figure this out on my own. Like I tried all these things. I invested all this money and time and energy. I'm just going to, again, like figure it out. And I really just one day I hit rock bottom and I was just at home. I was binging and I literally was like, I cannot do this anymore. I was very like a functional binge eater where no one knew. Like I had told some friends, family, but like no one, like I was living my life out from the outside. Everything looked great. So, but on the inside, I mean, I was tearing myself apart, like physically and emotionally. And I just like hit rock bottom and I was like, I need to just make a strategy call, like book a strategy call and just talk to somebody, because I feel like I can't do this on my own. And I see all these women who are succeeding and who are beating binge eating, and here I am struggling on my own. And I was like, I'm over that. Like, I just like don't want this to be a part of my life anymore. And I don't know what else to do. And it was a cry for help. It was really like, I had reached my upper limit and was like, okay, like this is it. Like I need something. So, I mean, I scheduled that strategy call, and like, it's easy to say that my life changed after that call, honestly, like being in the program and, going through everything that like I learned and just kind of being on calls, listening to the modules, everything I did, like it just shifted, probably go into more detail, but it shifted things little by little. And it was a roller coaster journey, but now, I mean, I feel like I have changed my brain, and I know that I've changed my habits in like, 10 weeks, which is crazy to think about, but I know that like, I am not not only did my hair change, but the outside and the
It
inside
looks great, by the way.
yeah. I just honestly feel like a different human being. Like the thoughts that I have, the way that I look at myself, the way that I look at eating and food, like it has shifted. It has really done a 180. And I can go into more detail or you can ask me questions, but
Yeah. And we can just kind of we can expand on that more with the next few questions that we ask for sure. And I know for you, you've just come so far. Now it's about just solidifying that transformation, right? And you're experiencing, so, for some people just watching this, Nancy just also moved. So mid-program or end of program, she moved from Boston to California, just like trusted her just big intuitive feeling to just follow her heart out to California, still figuring things out in that department, and still was able to go from living, with other people where it was harder to binge to having long periods of time alone and like having this big upheaval and change and like actually feeling your emotions and having these alone experiences and not being pulled back to that binging. So yeah, you've just come so far and you're just like a beaming light of energy and transformation. So I absolutely love it. And I'm curious because you learned so much and I know you took away a ton. What was kind of your biggest takeaway or a big takeaway or two from your journey that really has allowed you to shift things so fast?
that is such a hard question. I was like, oh no, I know she's going to ask me this. I really think, oh my gosh. I think that one of the biggest takeaways I just got was like trusting the process and like trusting myself and my body and knowing like that was such a big theme for me, like from the beginning to the end and beyond. Like, I just feel like binge eating for so many years, it really just like, I don't know, it challenged so many beliefs and so many of my thoughts that I had that I just didn't know how to trust myself or how to listen to myself. And I just didn't know, I didn't even know where to start with that. But really like throughout the entire program and like now beyond, really just knowing that like I have so much power like within myself and I always know what to do. I know how to handle a situation. Like, it's amazing to have all the information from Brittany and the program and all of that. But like when it comes down to it at the end of the day, it's like, I know what to do. I know how to honor myself, how to nourish myself, how to make myself feel better. And like, I can take that anywhere I go. So I can take that, from Boston to San Diego to anywhere. I feel like I don't have to be worried about, oh my gosh, like what happens when I'm alone, or like what happens when I have an urge to binge, or what happens when I eat a little bit extra, or I don't eat enough that day. It's like, okay, like Nancy, like you know how to handle this now.
Yeah.
You know what to do. And it just allows me to be more confident in like any aspect of my life and just be like, okay, like if I can do that, like I can do anything. So I guess like that would be the one thing if I had to choose.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's amazing. I know for your journey, for so many women's, but for yours especially, that idea of like trusting the process, surrendering, trusting yourself and your body, and like building that muscle of just that self-reliance, and really knowing that you didn't have to look outside of yourself for answers. Like you really had those within you. And I know the program's designed to kind of like return you back to that. So I love that. And I know that's helping you in all kinds of areas. I'm curious because you did, transform so quickly. So what was the, I know the mindset, you took into the program, but you took a very, very specific approach to the work. I think you showed up, and you put the time in, and you didn't disappear. You had stuff come up, it was up and down, and like you still showed up and you brought your questions. And if we couldn't get to the bottom of it, you would still like ask different things, and you would leave our calls like with a solution to kind of go into the next week. So yeah, what allowed you to be able to do that and show up and kind of have that commitment?
I was like, this is it. Like, I remember being on that strategy call with Stella and just like, she poured so much belief in me, and I was like, this is it. Like, I've tried so many things, and like I've invested so much money, which like it's not even about that, but still I was like, this is really like, this is the final thing that I'm trying. And I went in with like, I was very nervous, and it was really just like a lot at the beginning, but I just went in like with that fire, just knowing like, okay, I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to show up on the calls. Like I'm going to prioritize this program, the modules, like asking questions, being in the Facebook group. Like this is my focus. This is my priority. And I just kind of, I put other things in life kind of to the side just for a little while so I could really hone in, because I knew, the attention that I wanted to give myself and really like the program, just to kind of jump in with that all in mentality. And I wasn't afraid to be vulnerable and to show up and to ask questions on every single call or share wins on every single call. Even when I like couldn't really think of anything, I would think of something just to like show up and be present. And I knew that was what it was going to take. It wasn't going to something I could do from the sidelines or do passively. I was going to have to be active in it. And I just like believed in you and believed in all the other women that had come before me, because it was so different from anything that I had ever experienced before, that a lot of the times like I was skeptical, or I was like, that's not going to work for me, or hey, you know what, just like go with it. And it was a very like constant reminder of just like almost like trusting myself, but then not always listening to myself at the same time. That was a big shift for me too, where I just like took everything that the other women were saying, or that, you were saying, Brittany, and just held on to it. And okay, like they to do this, like I'm going to do that. Almost like a little kid, like listening to an older sibling. Like I was like, okay, like with that respect and with that admiration and just seeing everyone as a role model, even the ladies who might have been, a few weeks behind, I was like, okay, like, I'm going to listen to what they're saying. It's like, let's do it. So.
That's awesome. I love that. And what do you think? So since you had tried so much, anything different that you learned here? Anything different about just like us and our methodology and maybe like the energy we bring or whatever, like anything that sticks out to you that really, because you could go all into something and then like, change your mind because it doesn't feel right, or, try it and it's not resonating or working with your body. Like what felt so different about our process, or kind of your experience that allowed you just to pour into it?
Yeah. So I had known, like when I watched one of your web classes online and you went into a little bit of like how you structure the program, how you go about it, and all of those things, kind of what every week entails. I knew that it was different from anything that I had ever seen or read or done before. And really, just like the approach, like it was fun, but also a little spiritual, but also emotional. Like it had every aspect, and you laid it out in a very like methodical, and like you had a reason behind everything you were saying. It wasn't just to fill it up, and you explained like why, because I'm very like type A, very like straight lined kind of person. It was very like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's why I'm learning that. Like either from you mixed in, the science, the brain stuff, but then also just kind of like societal things or physiology. There was like a lot of different parts that were laid out in order. So it really was just like starting with the brain stuff and like cutting out those habits and those patterns that I had for so long that made me feel crazy, made me feel so much less crazy in like 2 weeks. So I thought it was going to be this long drawn out process. And it really like we cut through that so quickly, and it's still, we're coming up weeks later now, but to see those results very quickly just like allowed me to believe in myself and trust the program even more and trust the process. So, that was really different and really just inspiring and motivating to see the change right away, a little bit of change, see that light, and then chase after that and just keep going until it got bigger and bigger and bigger.
I love that. Yeah. And that's why actually the program's designed the way it is we're a little more objective on the front end. Like you can't argue with the science, you can't argue with the brain and the physiology. You can argue with what I say about emotions, or like what I say about your experience of the world or your beliefs from childhood. Like that stuff can be that stuff can be subjective, right? But, you know, you can't really argue with like, hey, this is how the brain and body works. And by doing X, Y, Z, it's causing this. And so we start with that on the front end to really leave you feeling not broken and to leave you understanding what's happening so you can get those quick wins. So I'm so glad that you experienced that. And then of course we go into the deeper stuff that really allows the transformation to stick. So yes, I love this. This is so cool. So, I have so many questions I could ask, but I'm going to rein it in. And, I'm curious. So for someone in the program, you know, they just started, they're like week 2 or 3, they got the food, they got the fears coming up. They have fears about what we're asking them to do. They're confused. They just stepped back a step, forward, sideways, you know, the journey. What do you say to them to like keep the faith, or what's like a little piece of advice you could give to them? And even if it's someone not in our program, like in general, when you're on this journey, just a piece of advice.
Oh my gosh. There's so much. Just like showing up, whether you're in the program or not, like just showing up and asking for help, like being vulnerable, it takes you from like here to here. There were times where like I even felt I was like on week, like, you know, towards the end of the program, and there was stuff coming up for me, or like I had binged or something, and like I even just felt a little embarrassed or shameful or guilty, and like it was really hard for me. But I showed up on the calls, I showed up in the Facebook group, and I was just like loud in like a good way, but just being like raising my hand, like I need help, like not being afraid to ask for help or support, and knowing like you showed up here, like you're watching this or you're in the program like for a reason, and that like you just like deserve freedom and transformation, and like don't be quiet about it. Like if something's going on and it's not clicking, or you have questions or you're struggling, like that's what everyone is here for. So that was really big for me, because, you know, I had been transparent or been open in the past, but it was like another level of just like showing myself to everyone. Even, you know, posting in the group or whatever it was, just really being like, hey, like I'm struggling, I need help, or even just saying like, hey, I just binged and now I don't know what to do. That was like my questions and my struggles, or like the tears that I had. Actually, like looking back, that's where the most transformation came. It didn't come from my wins. It didn't come from like the times where I felt really good or things like that. It was like when I thought I was going forward and then I ended up going way backwards, like that's where I found, and then I showed up and talked about it. That's where I found like the power and the true strength and transformation.
Yeah. And like the lessons, you know, like, it's easy to breeze through something, but when something comes up, you have to kind of sit back. And even you and I would be like, you know, dissecting it and kind of figuring out what happened and things like that. So yeah, and I know you and Stella had a really great moment that shifted a lot. So yeah, really, really awesome. So I'm curious, you know, I know that you were like in our world for a year-ish. So like Nancy was on my radar too. Like I've loved Nancy because she's been like commenting and sharing our stuff for a while. And yeah, so we've been in each other's worlds for like probably 6 months to a year before the program, and also have some mutual friends. So I'm curious, there are other people. We just had a woman join who also had been on the email list for a year watching videos. Another woman who just jumped on a call a year. I feel like a year is like the sweet spot, I guess. So, you know, what do you say to those people that are kind of like on the fence? They see us in the background, they're waiting, and, you know, waiting to take action in general on like really getting the support they need to get through this and to get to the other side of it quickly?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such a good question. I'm so glad you asked this because I wanted to talk about it. Literally like, oh, I wish that I had like done this like 6 months, a year. Like I'm like thinking about like how different my life would be. Like I'm so grateful for it now, but like I wish that I had taken action, even just scheduled a call so much earlier, because I just was in this limbo. Like I would get Brittany's emails and I would read them right away. Or I would like, you know, tell my friends to like jump on the web class because I knew other women who were struggling or things like that. But like there was just something in me that was like, I can do it on my own, or like I've tried so many other things, like I'll figure it out. Like reading these emails is helpful. Watching these web classes is helpful. And like that will get me, you know, moving forward, which like, yeah, like Brittany provides a lot of value and a lot of content in all of that, but there's something to be said about like taking it to the next level and committing like that time and just that energy to like a system that is just like proven to work. Like I really would just tell those ladies that are on the fence, like just jump in, like just schedule a call. Like it's not, I was a little nervous about scheduling a call because I was like, oh, like, I don't want it to be like pushy. I don't want to feel like guilty if I don't like, jump into the program or anything like that. But I got so much value even just on the call where it's like coming from such a serving place that like, I wish I had done it earlier, but I waited until I hit rock bottom, until I was like crying and miserable, like literally with a bag of like Oreos to take action. But if I had, that was where my breaking point was. But I wish that like, why wait until your breaking point? That's what I would say. Like, it is so much better to take action like now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I know that your journey's been perfect, and, who knows, maybe you needed that breaking point to really pour yourself into it the way you did. So yeah, I know your journey's been such a beautiful one, and you've gotten just so much transformation in such a short span of time. So that is like, I think I'm complete on my questioning. Anything else? And if you're complete, we're good. Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to add before we kind of sign off for the night?
Yeah, I have one more thing to say.
Okay, cool. I had a feeling there was. I never asked that, but I'm like, I think she's got something else. So let's hear it.
So a big thing for me, and I actually, this ties into the last question about like why I didn't jump in earlier, is because I thought that I was different. And like, of course I'm different. I'm unique. Everyone's different. Everyone's unique. They have their own story. They have their own journey, all that good stuff. But I was like, oh, it's not going to work for me. It's going to work for everybody else. It's worked for all these other women. They're amazing. They're different from me. And my story's different. My journey's different. I need something else. I need my own thing. I need my own journey. I need to figure it out on my own. It was very like an independent mindset. And I also was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. Like doing all that stuff, it's not going to work. And even when I still thought that at the beginning of the program, like I invested, I showed up, I was doing the work, and I still had that in the back of my mind. But I was like, hey, you know what? Let's just keep going. Like the worst that can happen is that like it doesn't work for me. The best thing that can happen is that it does. And the more that I did the work, the more that I saw shifts, and the more that I started believing in it, believing in myself, believing in Brittany and the program and all the other women that came before me. So if there's anyone that thinks that, this isn't going to work for me, that sounds amazing, Nancy and Brittany. Like, you guys are so cool. Like, you're so awesome. Like, good for you, but I'm different. Like, I just want to let you know, like, you're different, but you're also not. Like, like Brittany has it down to a science. And, you're getting that individualized and that personal support. But at the same time, like, this is for you. Like, if you're suffering from binge eating, like, this is for you. So, I'm so glad that even though I had those voices, I still moved forward, because I know that there's women out there who are like, sounds awesome, not for me. And I just like say, like, just trust and just go for it. And that's the last thing I have to say.
Okay, cool. No, that was amazing. And I love everything you shared. And I knew this interview would be such an inspirational one. And just, Nancy, I absolutely adore you. And I appreciate you so much for making the time out of your night to do this and to show up for this. Your interview is going to inspire so many people in the program who have made that leap and just need that like commitment and motivation. And then also people who are on the fence, or who maybe they don't even join and they just need that kind of like, just seeing that it is possible. And it is. I mean, I struggled for 15 plus years. You struggled for years. Some of our women come in 30, 40 years into this struggle, and they turn it around no matter how dark and scary and things that it looks. So possible. So Nancy, just want to send you a ton of love and thank you again for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome, Brittany. It is my pleasure. Seriously.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. All right. Bye, guys.